Chapter 10. We are all a part of her. This was one of the things that Stella considered magical about Harry. He could intuit another life form's thoughts and intentions no matter where that one stood. He was able to sense every thought Stella experienced, even if she was far downriver exploring new fishing holes. She had known this. She didn't need to tell him what she was feeling. He could feel, see, hear her thoughts as though they were his own. He could also sense the thoughts of others, even if they were far away. She leaned her head against his arm. He had just shown her the images of the city people that were in a distant land, stepping into their wooden birds from over the water. She asked him how he could do this. Harry explained that his life extended not just to the ends of his leaves, nor just to the farthest length of his roots. For the standing tree, thoughts and feelings traveled not in words, but through the vibration of the earth, from tree to tree, rock to rock, and through one body of water to another body of water. Information was collected through the vibrations of light and sound, as it traveled through the air, the soil, and the water. Harry said that all trees were a vital part of this connection of information, which he called the web of life. He could see and feel anything that occurred at any point in that web. The web of life was vast. It circled around the entire planet. Stella looked up into his branches with awe. The leaves whispered more. "Stella, when you ask me to tell you about any one thing in this web of life, I can easily direct my attention to that place and tell you what I see. I enjoy telling you about individuals in this web because normally I see all this information the way you see droplets of water falling down a large waterfalls and then disappearing into a big pool. I see the whole earth like the entire waterfalls. When you ask me a question, I'm able to take one single being and describe this one in great detail. This gives me tremendous pleasure, and this is one of the several reasons why I deeply enjoy talking to you. When you asked me for your name, I saw your whole life in front of my eyes," Harry continued, "and then I selected the sound of a word that best describes your purpose in this world, a name that would give you strength every time it was spoken." Stella thought about this as she looked down at Trinity flowing through the canyon. She asked, "Is the earth a living being like a cat or a tree or a river?" "Yes," the leaves whispered. "The earth, she is one living being. The rocks are her bones that hold her body in one solid form," the breeze whispered. Stella then saw images of endless ranges of tall mountains covered in white. "The rivers and the lakes are her veins," he whispered. "They flow in canals along the surface of her soil and also under the ground. They carry nutrients to every single creature being born. And then those same rivers wash away those life forms as they die, so that their bodies can return to the earth to create more life." Stella's thoughts saw the earth from far above, looking down, seeing crisscrossing streams of rivers shining in the sunlight like silver ribbons weaving through the green lands. "The grass and the trees are her flowing manes of hair," Harry whispered. We hold the soil from being washed away when the rains fall. Then we feed the other lives. Animals consume our fruit. Birds eat our seeds. Ants feed on other insects who live here. All the birds and animals each receive strength from what they nibble on. And then, when they're done, they drop more energy to the ground. Eventually, our bodies die, and like everything, we fall back into the earth, where she uses the nutrients to feed those new ones being born. Our spirits leave those bodies that once stood so strong and graceful, and then enter new bodies. Our lives continue for as long as we wish to explore our mother." She closed her eyes and she could see the endless stretch of green forest trees growing like grass in the meadow below, as though she were looking from the eyes of a hawk in flight far above. Everything that is the Mother Earth, Harry whispered. Even the city people who come across the water to these forests, they are also part of the Mother's body. The breeze increased. The whispering leaves became louder. Stella could see the image of a tree falling to the forest floor, a tree that lived far away. It was being cut by the hands of a woodsman's axe. Harry guided the eyes of her mind to travel through the length of that tree from the top to bottom until it came to the point where the crack of the sharp steel was striking the tree's trunk. Her eyes then slowly traveled up the axe to the place where the man's hands gripped the wooden handle. Her eyes traveled up his arm and then into his chest. She was now able to see the inside of the man's body, like she was looking at a place of many stars floating all around her head. In that galaxy of many moving things, she saw into this man's thoughts. She saw a baby boy was crying in the arms of a child's mother. They lived in the city. This was the man's baby. The woodsman was concerned because this little boy was coughing. The boy had been coughing and crying for many nights. The man did not want his boy to die. The man needed to have a healer come to his house and make his boy well. But the healer asked for something that sparkled yellow. The healer called it gold. The man didn't have enough gold to give to the healer, but he knew that if he cut down trees, he could be paid lots of gold. The more gold he had, the more he could care for his little boy. Then the image of the boy and the mother and the woodcutter all faded. Harry brought her back to Trinity's Canyon, right here in his arms. He showed her who made the marks on his trunk this morning. It was another man who also had children living in the city. Some of them were ill with the same coughing sickness this first child had. He also needed to gather more gold to pay for the healer. Soon, Harry whispered, many men with sharp steel blades will arrive and cut through my feet so that I will fall down and lay across the length of this canyon floor. Then these men will cut my body into many small pieces of wood and carry me away until there is nothing left but a flat, shallow stump where once I stood. How soon? Stella asked. Within 3 seasons, came the whispering reply. When the leaves turn colors and fall to the ground is when the woodcutters will arrive. The thought of this broke her heart. She had to find a way to save Harry.